also includes some of the challenging aspects of my personality, which, you know, it's funny to see.
Kids do that. Look like you, act like you.
I know, and so you know, I was so excited to see this little redhead. I was like, yes. And then when she's being stubborn or sarcastic, hard to believe that I'll be like, oh no. My dad, it's one of the few times I will just see him snicker. He said, I'm staying alive long enough to see this kid get hell.
Oh, funny.
I'm going to read another one that, Helen, I'm fairly certain I'm going to read. Because it's a difficult one to read. I'll tell you this backdrop. My mom, out of the blue, she despised rodents. I had pet mice, and I came home one day and they were gone. They had gone to a friend that had snakes. And I was very sad about this, but somewhere along the line, she picked up a pet rat. She went by herself to a pet store and said she wanted a pet rat. So she named the rat Patty Ratty. She's Pat, so there was Pat and Patty, and she would take this rat and travel to where I was in Greenville from Norfolk with the rat in tow. And so I mean, that should have been a hint that you know, that something was awry, but she was an artist, so we just chalked it off as she's eccentric. She's, you know, okay, so now she has Patty Ratty. But I'm going to read one poem first and then read the second one. And when I was writing this book, I know most people already know this, but I was putting the poems away. I really didn't want to. I think you heard me read one of the very first ones in Troublesome Creek. And I really didn't want to write, because it was so close to home, it seemed odd to be writing about something as we were kind of experiencing it. What I thought in my mind I was going to do was write a children's book with my daughter, because my daughter and my mother had been very close. And so in my mind, I would write something that was a benefit for my daughter in talking about it. Well, that didn't end up happening, but when I finally realized, okay, you are writing this book, whether you like it or not, it's clearly going to write itself, I asked my daughter, what's a story you would want me to tell about your grandmother? And so this is what she told me. And I was a little shocked. We had this really nice dollhouse that I was very proud of. I had a dollhouse when I was younger, and so it was pristine. I mean, I had little tiny, we even have books that open up you can read. That's how obsessed I was with it. But this is the secret that she shared with my mom. And she called her Bean, Grandma Bean. Grandma Bean and Amani playing with the dollhouse. This will be her kitchen, Amani says. She's making sugar cookies. Okay, I like cookies, Bean says, but our rat's good cooks. Amani laughs. Patty Ratty is. She can do anything. Even climb stairs, remember? Amani drops a piece of my brie on the top stairs, and Patty Ratty races to the second floor and eats the cheese. Pointing, she says, this will be her bedroom. We'll train her to get into bed. Maybe we'll even teach her to go potty. She places a bit of cheese on the toilet rim. Patty Ratty sniffs, scurries into the bathroom, and snatches the cheese. Bean holds her hand over her mouth, hiding laughter. Tears in her eyes, she jokes, your mom's not going to want a rat living in this dollhouse. Maybe it'll just be her vacation home. My mom had a good sense of humor. It's nice to be able to laugh with somebody, because they do. I mean, I love that my daughter told me this story that was their secret bonding, and I was like, really? You had the rat in the dollhouse? She's like, oh yeah. They knew if I was coming. Out of the dollhouse. But at the same time, of course, Alzheimer's being what it is, there were other things that were, and I'm going to read this one, and I know I haven't read it because it's not one I read out loud yet in a group. There are things that are difficult. And this one's called That Wednesday Afternoon. Mom, help, Amani screams. When I run into the room, she's crying, pointing at my mother, whose right hand's wrapped tightly around something white that suddenly squirms, bites my mother's index finger. Her hand opens, and Patty Ratty leaps onto the wooden floor, scampers under the metal bed. My mother, confused at her bleeding finger, starts to cry. Amani stammers, I thought she'd remember Patty Ratty. I thought she'd want to hold her. You know that container. You know how as human beings we have the joy in the moment and then also the grief in the moment, and how you his families. Just continue to celebrate the whole experience. And I'm going to read one last one that comes from this collection that kind of tells you who set the tone for us. It's my father. And I know other people have heard me say this. I call him the eternal optimist. You know, the glass half full or half empty. He said, it's always full. It's full of water and air. He was yes. Oh, yes. So the only thing I want to tell you backdrop for this story is there was this old dugout canoe, Native American, South American actually, made out of wood. And we call it the scary canoe for a reason. How to stay afloat. This morning he's gone when we wake up. Amani says, where's Papa? Did he go to get biscuits? I walk outside and his car's there, and in the driveway, the empty canoe stand. He's been threatening to lug that old dugout canoe into Cat Point Creek and paddle to the small island in an open bay. On the pier, I stand in the morning fog and cold drizzle and scan the water for movement. Nothing. Then I hear him whistling a song. I step to the edge of the dock and see him, floating with the outgoing tide towards home. He kneels in the canoe, bailing with the kitchen pot. On all sides, water breaches the canoe gunnels. He sees me and yells, see, she still floats.